effect, morphed from what was once a small, cultish corner of the profession, namely a group of people who thought that the best thing for economics to do was to ape physics. So I think a lot of times in economics we have former or would-be physicists who, for whatever reason, couldn't get through a physics program, and so the next best thing is become an economist and try and ape the methods of the physical sciences. And so you come up with absurd models that apply only to an economy on Mars, or that apply to an economy in long-run equilibrium that we're never going to reach, but never actually talk about the actual economy we're living in. And so if you actually read the American Economic Review, you'll find it's completely unreadable. It's all math, it's all jargon, and you would not be alone if you're not subscribing to the American Economic Review. You're not alone. They did a study not long ago to ask how many people read the average article in the American Economic Review. And the answer was 2.5. 2.5 people reading the typical article. Now, I assume they're not including the editor and the author, because then we'd be left with like a half a guy running around reading articles. So the fact that the mainstream is not favorable toward the Austrian School of Economics, I don't count as a demerit. I count that as a point in its favor. I don't see that the mainstream of the profession has exactly been doing a bang-up job recently. Well, what I want to talk about today is as follows. I want to explain first the precipitating factor in what happened to us, and no, it's not deregulation, it's not the free market is evil, it's not all the nonsense you get from CNBC or from the White House or whatever. All of that stuff is false. Everybody who says the free market has failed and so, you know, the drones who run the economy need more power is just dead wrong. So first, what was the precipitating factor? Secondly, I want to explain why fiscal stimulus is a juvenile idea, why it only intensifies the problem, likewise for monetary stimulus, and then propose what actually could be done to accelerate the recovery. And here I'm going to make reference to an episode in American history no one's ever heard of, a depression that was over in about 1.5 years because the government did the exact opposite of what it's doing right now. So first to the Fed. Now, the Fed has nothing, in my opinion, whatsoever to do with the free market. The free market is the idea of social cooperation bounded by private property rights, that we all engage in voluntary transactions with each other, and we cannot trespass upon other people's rights to life and property. That's all it is. For all the boogeyman definitions you've been given about the wickedness of the free market, that's all it is. There's no room in that setup for a monopoly paper money producer. That violates the tenets of the free market, which opposes monopolies, and the free market would never produce a paper money system like we have now, where the money is just paper, it's not redeemable into anything. The system we have now has never been created voluntarily through the free market. Never. No such thing. It has always been introduced through government and through threats of violence and with the use of the police to suppress alternatives. It has never spontaneously emerged. So the Fed, therefore, is going to be the target of my remarks. Now, I am of the opinion the free market more or less works in every situation. And so I don't make an exception to say that, yeah, the free market works. However, when it comes to money and interest rates, there we need a Soviet commissar engaging in a central plan. I don't see, it seems like an inconsistency. I don't see any need to concede this. And yet, the chairman of the Federal Reserve System, from the late 80s up till just a few years ago, Alan Greenspan, was treated like a god among men in our financial press and in popular culture and television. He was called the maestro. The New York Times, in its typical toadying totalitarian fashion, referred to Greenspan as the infallible maestro of our financial system. Bob Woodward, the reporter for the Washington Post, you know, supposedly the big anti-establishment reporter, right? Bob Woodward said that in The Wizard of Oz, now see, right away we're off to a creepy start. He says, in The Wizard of Oz, when the man behind the curtain is revealed, we are disappointed. But in Greenspan, we find comfort. Just creepy, right? Totally creepy. I mean, this is beneath the dignity of a free people, for heaven's sake. Or my favorite example is from the New Republic magazine, which I hope none of you waste your time reading. But the New Republic had a journalist who had a little bit of a problem in the 1990s. He used to just make up his stories, he'd just make them up, and other journalists would be wondering, man, why didn't I get that story? Well, because it came out of this guy's brain. It didn't actually occur. And one of the stories that this guy wrote, Stephen Glass, was about Alan Greenspan. And he told the story that a group of Wall Street executives had built a little shrine to Greenspan with his image and some flowers and candles, and they would meet there and meditate in front of it.